Hello everyone, this is Dr. Marvin Faulkner and this is my podcast titled Inspirational Messages, talking about how to love, let go of pain, and have peace throughout life. I'm a double board certified anesthesiologist and pain management physician. After many years of seeing people suffer, I felt compelled to create this podcast and inspire others to have faith, hope, and love. Thank you for listening.
Hi there, it's Dr. Marvin Faulkner, and it's been 6 months since I've given a podcast, and I just hope that God will fill me with the right words, and that even in the midst of death and problems, that there can still be inspirational messages. I was unable to really be in front of the camera, so to speak, to do this for you and set this up because the grieving process has been very difficult, and it still remains. It's going to be there for quite a while, maybe till I draw my last breath. The stages of grief are well known, and it's not like you go through anger and then you're done with it, and then you experience forgiveness or acceptance, and I mean it's a revolving door. They're interchangeable. You think you might be through one on a Tuesday and it's staring in the face on a Wednesday. So that all is different for different people, and they have to deal with it in their own way. And but I believe that most people find that it's a dynamic process. It's in motion. It's not something that you just answer number one and then get 1 through 5, get all the answers right, and you've got 100%. It's over. That's not how I believe grief works. So many people that have been close to me through the years, they know about it's in the books, and then they know about my wife's death of cancer, my mother's suicide. They know that I raised the kids on by myself for the most part, except for what help I get from their grandfolks on their mother's side, and maybe Dad knew he would come and see us. Had some help, girlfriend or two that I was maybe trying to get reconnected with, and they did a few things, but mostly it was on me, and I chose that because I wanted my children to know that their dad was not going to take on his military career and be the retired general. He was going to stay with his kids. He was going to be there for their important years because their mother asked him to, because he wanted to, because he loved them that much, and he didn't want somebody else raising them, and he wasn't going to pawn them off on the grandfolks either. So it's just the way it is. So I've lost my son now, and honestly, they just progressively got worse. Mom was no easy task to try to sit there and look at all that had happened and the chaos and just the ending. And Tammy was worse. I thought, no way could it ever be worse. But yeah, she's worse. But her death took 2 years, and she was paralyzed from the waist down, for the last 8-9 months. And watching my wife become disfigured and not being able to recognize her, except for her eyes, this was not pleasant, far from pleasant. And we're just going to not why should I go on with multiple words? I did not like my kids watching it. I tried to protect them as much as I could, and I tried to ease her pain as much as possible. So then Taylor comes along, and she told me, she said, before she died, watch after him. He'll be the one to give you some trouble, so stay close to him and don't let me down and finish the job. Well, I gave it everything I had. And Taylor just, he had a problem. an affliction, a demon of drug addiction that I never saw it coming, and I just never believed that when Taylor was in his youth that he would turn to that. And I guess nobody probably would expect a child that was raised with such admiration and love that would end up turning to that. But he was exposed to it, he got exposed to it, and it became a part of his way of life, and it was the thing that ended him. But he fought a brave battle, he fought with courage, and I saw how tough it was on him. I saw his pain at times, and realized he was in a fight for his life that was much tougher than what I knew. And he loved his sisters, and he loved me enough to fight as hard as he knew how. And he wasn't intending on leaving this world. He had plans. We had plans together. He came to be with me this last couple of years. We had plans. And his new resume came in right 2 days after his death. I mean, he was not planning. He slipped up. This happens with drug dealers and them giving you stronger stuff, and just he was unable to chase the high back down, uppers and downers. Every time you try to do that, it just sometimes didn't work out, and it was very hard for me to try to accept all this, and being there at the hospital, it was horrific and horrifying to see my son that way, on a mechanical ventilator. This was not something that I expected when I spoke to him 6 o'clock on a Tuesday evening, and wondering why he wasn't home here. And he had left against my wishes, but he was all for all practical purposes dead the next day. And so this is very difficult, but I'm not going to spend much time on that, because people that have been through it know how difficult it is, and I have patients that have buried not one but 2 children. And most of I have more in common with my patients than I do most of my friends. But some of them are younger and they haven't really buried a child. They haven't buried a spouse. Some haven't buried their folks, but some have, a brother or sister. So nobody gets through life unscathed. It does seem like to me it's unfair at times, because some people seem to have a pretty good life until death comes calling, and then everybody has to die. But up to that point, they seem like they had a pretty good run. And I swear other people just can't give you 5 years. They cannot give you 5 years, not 5, without major chaos, pollution, just bad stuff that is going on in their lives. And they're beat on. Life just beats on them. And I can hardly give you 10 myself. Now, I don't have the physical affliction, praise God, but not as of yet. But I've been held up strong. But my mental and emotional, psychological capacities they've been weighed upon, and pretty heavy waves. But this needs not to be all about Taylor's death. I'm just going to go through a few things. And that is that I made a decision after speaking to someone who had gone the opposite direction about that I was not going to do the tough love thing. I did it for a year, and I thought, this isn't working, and I couldn't bear up under it. I had to know that I had given my son every ounce that I had in me. That I was sacrificing, that I was just doing everything that I knew and more. And the reason is I knew that if I didn't, I would only feel guilty, because that seed had been implanted into me as a child. And I would just drive myself crazy with that I had not done enough. But I know that I can rest in comfort with that, because I did everything. Tammy told me she married me because she knew I'd be a great dad. And if there's one thing I've been great at, I made mistakes, but I think I was a great parent. And I love my children. Despite my mistakes. So, there was a time when my little buddy, he wore this little thing, the Mighty Warriors, and that fit him, and he was a good fighter. And I never saw him ever have fear until he saw his mother dying, and then when he recognized that, I had to close the gym down because Taylor wasn't the same. He couldn't fight the same. But he came back and won the Texas Golden Gloves, and so, but he had an itch that he from time to time he thought about picking up and having a professional fight or two, and so I said okay, and so I got him the robe that says the technician, the lion, got him that uniform, and I did, but it didn't matter to me whether he wore that one or he wore a gray business suit. He could choose, or both. Had all of his accolades, everything that he did, from sound engineering to his bachelorette degree and everything. I had it all framed so that Taylor would always be able to see that even despite his affliction, he was accomplishing great things. The technician in music, the sound engineer, the lion in the ring. And when he decided that he was going to lay the robe down and just not do it and just concentrate on his music and UMKC, I got a letter from the chancellor. It's right over here, this letter, and had his grades in it and stuff. He has 15 hours down with a 3.4 in Masters of Finance. And the chancellor sent his grades, sent his condolences. I mean, that's... Taylor had a lot going, and he had plans. And I believe that Taylor felt like I did, like that he would beat this affliction. He would beat this demon. He got caught. He tried one too many times to enter the dark side. So this gets a lot of people. Taylor's not alone. The important thing is I had asked him if he had stopped being angry with God, and that if he believed in God and his Son and the blood of the Lamb, and he said he did, and he said he made peace about that. And so, like the thief on the cross, I know where my boy is, and I will see him again. It could be tomorrow. I never thought Tammy would only live to be 36. I didn't believe Taylor would die at 38. I didn't know my mother would die at 44, all tragically before their time. And here I am sitting here, it's my birthday today, and you know what? I'm having a good birthday. For the strength of Christ holds me up. And I never thought, well, I'd make it to 67, but here I sit and the others are gone, and so, oh my God. What a life. What a journey. But I loved his mother, and Taylor had talent and abilities, and I want to thank everybody for all their cards or letters, those that had beautiful things to say, and I can't mention because I would leave somebody out. Kaylee that came, and of course, Leanne sent me something beautiful, dressed as Dad, and she's a great girl. My Johnny on steroids sure could have used a June. And and others that just sent a simple card, just said no words, because they were speechless, and it does. Words can fail you in a case like this. But I've experienced all three now, so spouse, a soulmate. It was a while before I could look at this picture. A patient made me this pillow. Taylor and I, we got our hair cut and picture made. She very kind. I have some patients that love me a lot. And the shawl that sits on the lace here is with a beautiful letter with it. I mean, a shawl was made for me by a patient. I got a wooden chest over there that a patient made for me, beautiful mahogany, and got the revolver over there that a man gave to me that he used in Vietnam, and said he wanted to go to a man of peace, a man that would not use it to take a life, but that spent his life trying to save others. And I thought that I was more than willing to serve my country, and would have if I had not met Tamara and his Harlem families. Can be. So, but I got a son-in-law, Zach, who's in the military. Very proud of him, and he's getting through it. Gentry's alive, taking care of the baby. Tammy, the anniversary of her death was December the 7th, and Orrin Mara was brought into this world on December the 7th. So it took kind of some of the sting out of that, life coming in, life going out. But Taylor, he was pronounced on December the 6th. He had a big heart, and so I'm very proud that his heart was transplanted into someone else and saved their life. I just haven't been able to read much about it just yet, but I'll get around to it. So I wanted to come back on when I was in a good, emotional state, and I wanted to tell you the things that I am finding that can help you with your grief and your loss. Because I've been pretty much at a loss until I got some revelations recently, today, for example. So I think there's some things that I just want you to know. It's been a long time since I was that 22, 23-year-old young man with everything that I could put, that I owned in a duffel bag in the United States military. And I look back today, and under reflection, I was like, what happened to that guy? And where'd he go? I suddenly realized, in trying to help so many others, and trying to, save my son, my wife, my mother, and trying to do so much of that, plus a pain doctor, in which I ended up being a psychologist at times, or psychiatrist, but it seems like they all blend together, the emotional, the psychological, the physical, these people in pain. And I have some really good patients. I've had to get rid of some, and they want to turn around and be visceral and blame it on me. And I wasn't the one that violated the narcotic contract. And I have to protect, not only their lives, but my license. So I really don't know. I don't understand why they would think differently. I'm always shocked by that. But I was wondering, what happened to that guy? Because, man, I was running, I was exercising, a smile on my face. I was happy. She was dead, but it was over. And finally that chaos could stop, and I was enjoying the military, and I was enjoying 3 squares a day and running and just getting in great shape. And I was, and I was happy when I was in junior high. I remember being in high school, I remember coming home to the trauma, and it got worse in college, and finally I was one that painfully had to put an end to it. And but I'm not proud of all that, and I love my dad very much, but something had to be done, and so I did it, and they got divorced, and she ended her life, and so, but I rekindled with Dad. We had some great years before he left, and I miss him. I can't say the same really for her mother, but she I guess, she had her own demons and her own afflictions. And on one thing for sure, she never loved my dad, told me so. So, I thought, well, what happened? Where did that young man go? Sometimes you just lose yourself in all this, And I thought, today's my birthday. Now I can lay here and cry, or weep, which I've done, or I can say, you know what? It's time to find that guy that you lost because you were sacrificing so much that you lost yourself, and so find him. And so one thing's for sure. Those of you that sacrifice this time and energy and then end up with it going down the tubes and not working out the way you want it to, you got to find yourself again. You got to find yourself. The person that you were before you lost yourself in the sacrifice. So that's number one. Find yourself. And two, learn what it is to be good to yourself again. I forgot how. I mean, maybe sometimes, but I just took my enjoyment in others, my family, as long as they're happy. I was like, but for me, I was always putting myself like, well, don't matter that much. I mean, and I do, and you do too. You do matter, and be good to yourself. And I did something today I've never done before. I was my birthday, and I thought, you know what? Taylor would want me to have a good birthday, and so do my other kids, and so do my people that love me, and you know what? I should want me to have a good birthday. I don't have anybody here. I don't have just Delilah and me. Somebody's gone, and I don't have a girlfriend. I tried, but those things didn't work out so much. And probably because I was too busy giving to receive, and you're a giver. I mean, and you get along. You get with a taker. Well, they'll just take you for everything you got. But I've had the fortune enough to be with a couple of people that weren't takers. The circumstances were just too tough on us. And so number one, find yourself who you were when you were that happy being that smiled and had at least some hope, and if you did have that opportunity. And then two, be good to yourself. Get out and do something good for yourself. I went to this water tank today, and it was a place where you go and you float. It's a flotation, just floating in the water, and everything's dark. You're just floating in this salt water. And I was in there, and I was like, this is one of the best things I've ever done for myself. I felt like I was back in my mother's womb, and I just saw it, and I was checking things out and what I might do for myself on my birthday. Usually I'd work on my birthday. Didn't this time. No, said I'm not working on my birthday. And so I went in there, and I just said, God, speak to me. I was like, Taylor, I love you, son, and I'll see you soon. And Tammy, I know you'll be there, and Dad, and I just started. They had this beautiful. You sit for 20 minutes in a massage chair first, and then with these beautiful pictures going on, and it's this display of the heavens, and I was just. It was so appropriate because I was there. So there's where you are, son. You're running around doing all this stuff, and Tammy, you've been doing it for a while. And here I am down here being miserable, and you're right where the greatest love is of all. So you're all right, and it ain't gonna be just a minute or two, and I'll be right there with you. So the best thing I can do to honor you is not to just be sad, down, depressed all the time. And you can't be inspirational like that. And so. Do something good for yourself. That felt so good for me to do that for myself. And while I was laying there, I got these messages about, you need to be good to yourself. And you need to remember that you count. And if all you do for the rest of your life is go see patients that are in need, well, then you minister to them one room at a time. Well, then that's it. If you get to speak in front of, I always thought I'd be able to get that letter to God and be a noted writer. Well, I didn't. There's a lot of people read it, but not as many as I wanted. And now these podcasts, people have listened to them too. But in this world, it should be the other way around. It shouldn't be like somebody because they became a star, famous, and had money and all that. Well, they're listened to, and people want to read their stories, and the rest of us are looked at as some sort of losers because we didn't reach that epiphany. Well, we're not We're human beings, we're salt of the earth, and our life and our hairs on our head counts just as much to God as theirs. And if we've lived a life of sacrifice and we've done a lot for a lot of people, well, you know what? That'll be counted good. And the first will be last, last will be first. So, be good to yourself. I started thinking all kinds of things like, well, how long has it been since I played tennis? And I used to be really good at that. And I've been working out a lot lately and getting myself out. I gained weight after Taylor's death. I'm getting it back off. I don't like that. So, the grieving process, if you're going to start to heal and be able to say, you know what, I love them so much, and it was so hard to let go, but they are with God. And you think things like, well, did they not love me enough? Did they not love their sisters enough? Or did Taylor not love enough? No, Taylor loved us very deeply and very dearly. And he did so because that's why he fought so hard. But 2 nights before my son left this world, I had what I would consider a nightmare. And I bolted up out of bed screaming his name. And he came and put his arms around me and said, Dad, what is it? I said, I just had a nightmare that you died of a drug overdose, son. After everything we've done, he said, Dad, please calm down. Everything's okay. I'm not going anywhere. Well, yeah, he did. He actually did go somewhere, but a part of him's still with me. I can tell it, and I can feel him, I can sense him, because he didn't want to hurt me like this. But he's still with me. These ashes will be around my neck the day I die. I got ashes on most all of our dogs. I mean, everyone we've had has been just great and special. Just the exact thing we needed at the right time. So, as I said in days gone by, laughter is good medicine, and so you will need to start laughing again. And that's not because your heart's not broken, and it's not because that you haven't felt the pain. It's not because you haven't wept. No, it's you gotta laugh. I started, and I laughed in that water today. I started laughing. You know why? Because all of a sudden I started thinking about the things that Taylor and I did here in Kansas City that were so much fun, and we had so much of a great time together, and we were laughing like crazy. And I was thinking, I just been overwhelmed by just remembering the bad and forget the ugly. Just knock that off. But all of a sudden it just came upon me to remember the good. So remember yourself and who you were. Be good to yourself. And remember the good. Remember it. This isn't something we get over, like Willie Nelson says in his song. This is something we just get to get through. And that's it. So, my boy was a lion, and I'm the wolf. And I loved him. And he loved me too, very deeply. My dad said to me when I was a kid, he said, I'm worried about you. I go, what for? He said, when you love so deep. I'm afraid you won't get that back. And I know part of the reason why I said that is because of Mother. But, Dad, I didn't always love everybody more than they love me. It's perspective, and people have different ways. But listen, I've had a lot of people put a lot of love on me, Dad. And from Patience to my children, Gentry loves me. Allie loves me. Bobby and Zach, their husbands, both love me. And before I leave this world, if I get the opportunity, I'll make sure little Miss Oren Mara They took the TA off me tomorrow. Tammy, I'll make sure little booger knows her papa. You have to call me Papa, because I was with my Papa Taylor and my mama when I was a little boy, riding the school bus when Dad and Mom were working, and I stayed with my grandfolks on the farm. I picked cotton. Even Roy Clark didn't do that. So you got to learn to do what? Laugh. Again, the smile has to return a laugh. You want to encourage others, you can't do it weeping all the time. You see, so you got to say, come on. They would resent it if you said it and you hadn't been through it, but when you've been through it, you've got more people now that you can say, look, I understand. I get it. I've been there. I actually have had the same thing happen, and and they're like, really? And then all of a sudden, that opens up a whole new wave, and then you say, you know what let's do? Together, let's laugh a little bit. So find laughter again. I mean, I'm finding these things in Taylor, December, January, February, March, April, May. That's what I figured. It's about 6 months. I didn't think I would have a very good birthday today, but I've had been one of the best birthdays I've ever had in my life, because I remembered who I was. I was good to myself. I treated myself. And, I laughed. And I remembered the good. Those things I know are very powerful and will help you with your healing. Now, I sometimes have people that may listen to a podcast or read something about me in a book, and they may be of a different faith, a different religion, maybe Hindu or Muslim. And you know what? Love ties us all together, and you find your own way, but I'm sure it will include in part some of the things I've talked about, outside of the fact that, we don't have the same beliefs with regard to Jesus and stuff like that. But God will work that out with you, between the two of you. I mean, it's because I know that I can't press my stuff upon you. But for me, I love Jesus. I love the Son of God, because he wept in the garden, and he had displayed anger when he turned over the tables at the temple, and he wanted to know why he'd been forsaken. And all these human emotions are just like, well, okay, that allows me to feel the same way. If I've been angry, if I've wept, if I have felt forsaken, so what? He did too. And then I thought about God, and I was like, were you separated from your Son for 3 days and 3 nights? Because after all, time doesn't mean anything to you. You're infinite, we're finite, we don't get it. We lose you in Genesis 1:1, where it's like, in the beginning there's God. Well, we're not going to know that till we cross over and become infinite too. You can't understand infinite when you're finite. We have a beginning and an end in this life, and he does not. And that takes faith to believe in that. Some people call it stupidity, and I don't. Because the only hope I got is being with those I love again. And I will hold on to that. So with God, I was like, so you were separated because he came out of that tomb? And he looked at Mary, and Mary looked at him, recognized him, and he said, touch me not, because I have not yet ascended to my Father. Well, so they were separated for a while, and if I can't talk to God plain, then why would I want to talk to him? But I said, I hope that hurt, because God is killing me, and it was at the time. And I got a message back that said, listen, Leon, it hurt a lot. It hurt very much, and I can prove it. And I go, how? He goes, because when you see me, I will show you the same holes in my wrists that were in his, and that are in his. And I thought, my God, when my boy was laying there on the mechanical ventilator, and I was thinking of the crucifixion, I thought, man, I can understand this now. Oh my God, I thought I was a Christian. I had no idea what had been done for me on the cross. Because my son was laying there and it's just like, he's on the cross. And I said, I will not be here for any turning off of the mechanical ventilator, but I didn't realize he was an organ donor, so I didn't have to endure. I only wanted to kiss him and hold him and hug him and weep and just comb his hair while he was warm. Didn't want to touch him cold. So that's why God didn't want to look at his son be crucified. That's why he felt forsaken. So listen, I'll be back with more inspirational, I hope inspirational messages. I'm proud that God is allowing me I'm proud that he's allowing me to have peace, even if it's part-time, so early on. And I think because he wants me to, he loves me, and I know that Taylor would want that. And it just hit me. It's like it's time to do the things, and I want to share that with other people, to do the other things of awakening up to find out who you were before you sacrifice yourself so much that you just disappeared. And I know you'll know what I'm talking about, those of you that have done this. And then the second one, just remembering the good, laughter, and just just be good. Be good to you. It felt so good today for me to just say, I remember who you were, Lynn. Remember who you were back on that bicycle you loved so much back in junior high, riding that thing everywhere, laughing like a dog. So just be good to you today. I can't tell you just how good it was to be good to me. So, God's wisdom is something mysterious that goes deep into the interior of his purposes. You don't find it laying around on the surface. It's not the latest message, but more like the oldest. What God determined as a way to bring out his best in us long before we ever arrived on the scene. 1 Corinthians 2:7. It is in Christ that we find out who we are and what we're living for. Long before we first heard of Christ and got our hopes up, he had his eye on us and had designs for our life, our living. Part of every overall purpose he is working out in everything and everyone. Jesus says self-help is no help at all. Self-sacrifice is the way to finding your true self. Well, I've sacrificed. This isn't about becoming selfish. This isn't about being like, you know what, I'm the only thing that matters now. I need everybody else to get out of my way. That's not what I'm talking about. Everything always has to swing. Way over here to the right, way over here to the left. Nothing can ever rest in the middle. You know why? You know why a pendulum always goes to the right, always goes back to the left, and never stops in the middle, just like our politics and everything else. Do you know why? Because if it stops, time stands still. We're not going to see that until we cross over into eternity. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He has me to lie down in green pastures. Sit beside the still waters. Yea, though I walk through the shadow of the valley of death, I'll fear no evil, for God is with me. His rod and his staff, they comfort me. This is God created this world and all that goes with it. Sometimes we don't understand. But for thine is the kingdom and the glory And just realize that you did all that you can do. You loved. And if you've done that, and if you did all that you knew to do, and loved, and gave it all you had, then you did your best. And you did all that God ever wanted you to do. And you loved, and you sacrificed. And your loved ones still went on without you. And you have to stay behind for a little while longer. But you will find peace and comfort in knowing it's okay to remember who you are and who you were before all this chaos and calamity happened. And to laugh again. Put a smile on that face. Remember the good. And please be good to yourself. It's okay. It's really okay. Good to be back with you again. Marvin Faulkner, www.marvinfaulkner.com. I wish somebody'd use that website. I wish somebody would get a hold of me and have me come and speak to small groups or other bigger groups or whatever, to try and encourage people. Which people say, there's a guy, he gets it. He really does get it. But he's got us laughing. He's got us smiling. He's got us remembering. He's got us being good to ourselves. I love you very much. See you soon.